planning on changing the world just like me. You could be the chairwoman and I'll be the trustee. Let me give all to your benefit. Then I'll get blessed out my deficit.
Welcome back to Your Corporate IQ. I am your host, Tangiel Johnson.
And I'm your co-host, Lachez Solage.
Lachez, you know what time it is.
Yes.
Yes. Makeup ready?
Yes.
Hair done?
Yes. Yes.
Curls on, right?
Always, always.
Okay, then people, cue the music. Let's get it started. Up in here, for all the listeners in the words of Q-Tip, high, low, or even open toe. Put your heels on, baby.
Yes.
Because I'm super excited about our guest today. She has been killing sales since Girl Scout cookies, okay?
Wow. Wow.
That's a quote. She is resilient, she's dynamic, and a visionary. But before we start, let me just go ahead and put the disclaimer out there. That is that the views expressed by your corporate IQ and their guests today are our own and do not reflect the views of any company or organization. With that said, thank you for joining your Corporate IQ podcast, where we will discuss the pearls and the perils of corporate America with a lens from the people of color and their experience. Today's guest is Cynthia Barnes, and the segment is How to Develop Your Bounce Back. I can't wait to hear this. This young lady is something else. I can't wait to know how we get to bounce back. So basically, if we're bouncing and we actually fall down off the bounce, she's going to tell us how to bounce back and keep it moving. I love it.
Fantastic.
Anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So Cynthia Barnes is the founder and CEO of National Association of Women Sales Professionals. That's also NAWSP. She is a trailblazing sales influencer, dynamic speaker, and the first Black woman keynote speaker at a national sales conference. Cynthia is not your ordinary speaker. She brings an irresistible blend of transformative narratives, interactive discussions, and enlightening humor. Welcome, Cynthia.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are so excited to have you and love the energy so far. I love the energy. So super excited to jump in.
Me too. Me too. Let's go.
I also love transformative narratives. Oh, I'm just like, I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I've got some stories.
I bet you do. I want you to take us back, though, and I do this with everyone because I need to know the context, right? So share with us, high level, your sales journey. Just want to get the context there with your experience in sales before you moved into the fabulous things you're doing now.
The funny thing is that we're all in sales. Some of us just get paid for it. So whether we're selling ourselves or selling someone else's product or service, or when my niece was 5 years old, she was selling me on the idea of why we should go rock climbing. We're all in sales. So I've been in sales all my life, just like everybody else. I didn't start getting paid for it until I went into for-profit education. I was a student at a university, and they came to me and they said, "Hey, we're looking for counselors." And I said, "Why would I want to do that?" And they said, "A free degree." And I said, "Okay, let's go."
Absolutely.
Go. Yeah, the less I owe Sally Mae, the better. So I started with for-profit education, and from there I went to pharmaceuticals, the legal kind. I went to high-end skincare and cosmetics. And then my last corporate job, I was a freight broker for a logistics company. So I've been selling for a long time. And in 2016, I said, the true measure of my success is not going to be how many times I reach the top 1%. It's actually, I think, going to be how many others I have helped reach the top 1%. So that's why I decided to start NAWSP.
Awesome. I love that. You wrap that up very neatly, like, hey, this is what it is, and this is where I am, and this is why. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
Um, so take us back. We're going to go back again to your early years growing up now, right? So growing up and how your experience growing up influenced or inspired, whichever word you choose, you to kind of move into the DEI space as well as creating the National Association of Women in Sales.
So I grew up in a sundown town. And for those of you not familiar with the sundown town, it's essentially, and you can Google it, but there are towns across America, very small, very white towns, and they have signs that say no, insert racial epithet, no Black folks out past sundown. That's how they got started. And I grew up in one of those towns not too long ago. And in that town, there was racism. There were people who judged me and my family, we were the only Blacks, based upon the color of our skin. And I remember once my mom came home from work, and she used to work in a factory, one of the big three in Kokomo, Indiana. And she was a supervisor. So being a Black female supervisor in charge of a lot of white men was not popular, but she had earned the right because she had gone to college. So she was responsible for the skilled tradesmen, and their parts, all of their tools, were in a 10 by 10 cage under lock and key. So anytime a skilled tradesman needed one of those tools, he would have to ask her. She would go to the cage, take out the key, and get the tool. So this particular time, they asked her to do so. She went into the cage to get the tool, and she heard the door close and lock behind her. Not thinking anything of it, she turned around because everyone was laughing, and she said, "What's so funny?" They were all gathered around the cage, and they had placed a sign on the locked cage when my mother was inside that said, "Don't feed the monkeys."
Oh my goodness.
So when people ask me, "Cynthia, why do you advocate so hard for women, for Black women, for those from historically excluded groups?" It's because of experiences like that. My mother endured terrible things so that I could get the best education, have the best opportunities. So who am I to be mediocre? Who am I to say, you know what, this is good enough? She sacrificed for me so that I could have the best opportunities. I make the same commitment to those who look like me and those who follow behind me.
Yeah. Awesome. No wonder you're so resilient. My God. Kudos to
Wow.
your mother. Kudos to her.
She is amazing.
Wow. You said a lot there. I mean, what's interesting about that, so first time I've heard of a sundown town, first of all. So never heard of
Yes.
that. So I learned something new there. Amazing. Also that, your mom was educated. So back then, again, that wasn't common back then, right?
Right.
And I would imagine even in that particular town, there's so many things that are so unique about your background. That's why I thought it was fantastic to surface it here. And that she was a supervisor. These are all things that are really rare for back then. So I could imagine where that type of drive, would come from with you. I don't know if you want to explore that a little bit, but did that kind of inspire you with some of the things that you're doing now, the things that, and you've talked about it a little bit here, the things that your mom endured, but maybe if you want to share a little bit more about how that's inspired you to focus, again, your business, and you'll talk about it later, kind of focuses on the women's segment as well as, DEI. But, talk to us a
Sure.
little bit about that experience with your mom and how that inspires you.
My mother has always been and continues to be one of those trailblazers. So I grew up witnessing it firsthand. My father is a retired Air Force sergeant who accepted nothing and still accepts nothing but top performance. He was the first Black boom operator in the Air Force. And the boom operator is the one that sits underneath the plane for in-fuel or in-flight refueling missions. So he was part of the first airborne mission that did that. He is also, like I said, a former drill sergeant. So when he came home, there were no pre-designed roles around the house. If the trash needed to be taken out, somebody with 2 feet, you got to get it. He also said, so when most kids are playing with Barbies, I'm sitting down with my father and he says, "Cynthia," Sin May, because everybody from the South has a middle name May. And he said, I've got some news for you. When I'm all serious, I'm thinking, okay, I want to go back and play. And he said, you've got 2 strikes against you. You are Black and you are a girl. And I said, yes, Daddy. And he said, what that means for you is that you have to do things twice as hard as everybody else to get half as recognized. We've all heard that story, right?
Yes.
He went on to say, there are going to be people in life who judge you before you even open your mouth based upon the color of your skin and the gender you were assigned.
Mm.
Right.
And I really didn't think anything about it until a year later. And I'll get to that. He then went on in that same conversation and he said, and while I'm at it, I said, yes, Daddy, I'm just trying to get back to my Barbies. He said, there are 3 types of people in the world: those who make things happen, those who wait for things to happen, and those who wonder what the hell happened. If you are going to be successful in life,
Wow.
he said, you have got to work twice as hard and make things happen. So again, I'm trying to get back to my Barbies, but a year later, I'm in Girl Scouts on my way to doing what Girl Scouts do. And they say, we're going to sell Girl Scout cookies. And I'm thinking back to my father, twice as good, twice as hard. And they hand out Girl Scout cookie sheets, and they're handing out 1 sheet to every girl. And I said, I'm going to need 2. And they said, why? And they said, and I said, because I'm going to be twice as good. That was the beginning of my mindset of
Wow.
excellence.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that was the beginning. And my parents always said, Cynthia, if you're willing to sacrifice and work hard, you can accomplish anything. And I never doubted that. I never doubted that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love
Wow.
it. Kudos.
Wow.
Kudos to Mr. and Mrs. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
strong foundation. I love this. So like on this show on Your Corporate IQ, we talk about, strategies and navigation and mentorship and coaching. But what's really interesting about this is the influence from your parents. We haven't heard too much about that so far with our guests. So I love that you have a totally different perspective in terms of early on and how that's really influenced you in some kind of fundamental um, pearls that your parents
Yes.
really instilled in you early on that allowed you to build upon that, of course, but you had some really solid direction as a young person from your parents. So I think this is something new that we have to, and I knew you would bring some new things to us, but that's certainly a new perspective in terms of early on and the parents' influence early on with you.
Yes.
I think one of the things that's going to be really great to talk about, it'll be great discussion to deal with intersectionality. So as you're in the DEI space and your focus with your organization in a WSP is focused on the women's segment, talk to us about, so intersectionality in that context would be Black women is a concept in intersectionality where you are a woman and you're also Black. So you face, things in both areas, challenges, struggles in both areas. Talk to
Yes.
us about how your organization understands intersectionality in this way and what you do to address that or to tackle that with the organization.
So first of all, we have to be real. And
Yes.
sales and traditional sales approaches were created by men for men at a time when men made up the entire sales force.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with those traditional sales approaches, but let's be real about them. If a woman is going to learn sales from a system that was not designed with her in mind, some changes have to be made. So at NAWSP, I said, let's create sales approaches that address the unique challenges women face while amplifying their innate strengths. Not
Ooh.
popular, but necessary. Let's also, when we unpack the challenges women face, I don't use the term minority because the term minority automatically puts me at a disadvantage. So
Okay.
because there's power in the word, I don't talk about underrepresented groups. Let's call it what it is, and that is historically excluded groups.
Okay.
Oh.
So let's speak with power about what it really is, because if we can equip those from historically excluded groups with the mindset, with the power to know, you know what, I can overcome this, and give them some confidence to look at a situation the way it really is and change
Mm-hmm.
the lens through which they look. So
Oh,
first of
I
all,
like
we
that.
have to look at this system is broken. Everyone wants to talk about women need more confidence, Black women need to do this, Asian women need to do that. How about we take a look at the system that's causing us to react in certain ways,
That's right.
right?
Right.
That's
That's
So
right.
right.
until the system is fixed, we can arm Black women with the tools, the mindset, the verbiage to overcome those challenges they face.
Mm. I like so many things that you said here, and I want to make sure that I unpack it for all the listeners, right? So intersectionality, we learned that concept here, and that's real. So there's, Black women and the challenges that they face in both areas. Being a woman is tough, and also being a Black person in America is tough, right? So you deal with both. I think what's great about your organization is that you address what's real. You can't ignore the realities of a system. I love that you understand it's a system of things that we are a part of. Address what's real so that you can actually tackle it and help them. I love that. I love that because I don't think every organization would address and deal with the real. So I applaud
No.
you for understanding that and starting there, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I like real things myself. I don't want to
Mhm.
dance around what's really going on. There's an entire system that's designed to make things more difficult for
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
and we have to understand that so that you can deal with that, right?
Mhm.
So with that, and I love the verbiage also. I love that you use the right verbiage that's also real, right? Using
Mhm.
terms that make sense, that are empowering and are appropriate. So I applaud you for doing that as well. Because that's also how you change things, right? Change a
Yes.
mindset. So hey,
Mhm.
that's how you break down an infrastructure or barriers that are in place for these groups to not be successful, is to break down even the language and the verbiage that's used to enlighten and lift up. So I love that, and amplify, as you said. So I love
Mhm.
this.
Yes.
Um,
Historically excluded.
Yes.
Historically excluded. That's a good one.
Yes.
I like
That's
Yes.
a
that. I
girl.
like that.
Mhm.
So what types of, you mentioned tools. So you mentioned some of the verbiage, which we did catch on to. What are
Mhm.
some of the tools that you use? You mentioned that. What are some of those?
So let's talk about showing up as your authentic self.
Ooh, yes.
People talk about it's okay to wear braids to work. It's okay to speak the way you speak. But let's be real. If you deviate too much from the norm, i.e., don't speak the king's English, there may be some ruffling of some feathers. And the only reason I say that is because I see it in 2023. A lot of people say, no, that doesn't exist. It does. There are going to be leaders who deliver lip service about diversity, equity, and inclusion only because it helps them save face.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, I had a conversation with an ELT, an executive leadership team. The CEO was there. And I always ask, why do you want to level the playing field for women in sales? Why do you want to create a more diverse culture? Tell me why. Because as the CEO of NAWSP, I get to choose who we partner with.
That's
I
right.
get to choose the organizations that I vouch for, that I say, our members, here's an open door to a company who celebrates you, not just tolerates you. So if that is not the
Ooh.
case, then the women will have a bad experience, that I will have a bad experience, and the organization will have a bad experience. So I asked the question, and we'll call him Bob, just for kicks and giggles. And I said, Bob, why do you want to do this? And he said, what does it matter? And I said,
Mm.
humor me. I said, knowing why is going to help me help you, possibly, if we take on this project. He's holding a cup of coffee and he slams it down, and so hard that the coffee spills over. And he says to me, if I'd known how much this DE&I BS was going to, how much trouble it was going to be, I would have picked the damn cotton myself.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
I
Yes.
appreciate your candor, sir. You have a
Yes,
good
thank you
day.
so much, Bob. Yes, yes, yes,
You have a good
yes.
day, Bob.
That's right. So I had two choices. I could have either looked at him, which I did, and I paused, and I looked behind me and I said, "You do realize that I'm Black, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "You hear that?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "That's the sound of the price going up," to quote Beyonce and Jay-Z. And then I thought about it and I said, would I want to work here? And the answer is no. Would I want my niece to work here? And the answer is no. I looked around at his executive leadership team and I realized also that Bob is comfortable speaking to anyone the way that he spoke to me because his executive leadership team didn't call him on the carpet.
That's right.
The fish stinks from the head, right?
Yeah.
So if Bob doesn't want to do the right thing, his executive leadership team is not going to do the right thing.
Okay.
The whole thing just stank,
Yeah.
whatever. So I was out. I said, you know what? This is not a good fit. It's not a good fit. I wish you well.
Yeah.
I wish you well. So long story short, when we are interviewing for a company, we have to remember that we are the prize.
That's right.
We can't get so desperate that we say, you know what, I'll just take anything because bills are due. You spend a third of your life with said company. If you don't interview them like you interview a potential marriage candidate,
Yeah.
you will be miserable.
Yeah.
So ask the hard questions. And if you don't know the right questions, ask somebody to help you. Find out, how many women do you have on your team? Would you, Mr. Manager, would your niece, mother, sister, wife thrive on your team? And if they pause, then you should pause.
Yeah.
Those are the hard questions, but those are the questions we have to ask,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, again, back to the corporate pearls, it's a perfect way to, or segue into this is, understanding how to assess a corporate environment. And so this is the pearl that you've surfaced here. You need to understand this very thing. That's a clear example of it's not a fit for you. You will have significant challenges in an environment like that. That's very
Right.
easy to know that, oh, wow, this is just absolutely not a space for me. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be seen. You're not going to be heard. That's a straightforward, sign.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So there's some signs that aren't as straightforward. So I would, to that end, encourage the listeners to always try to look around, always try to ask questions to identify what environment makes sense for you, whether it's as a woman, whether it's as a POC, all of your criteria. Really try to learn that and understand it, assess that before you sign that contract with
Yes.
company X, or said company as you called it.
And make a list of what matters to you. Not
Right.
everyone's going to have the same list.
Yeah.
For example, I don't want to be the only one. I've been the only one for years. And in 2023, I don't want to be the only one. So to me, that's important. I want to know what percentage of Black women are on your team. What percentage of Black women are in the top 10% of your sales team? Because you can have players, but if they're not starters, and I want to be a starter, then I don't have any networking or mentorship opportunities. Who's in
Wow.
leadership? Who's
I
making
need
the
you to say
decision?
that again. Say that again. You can have, what did you say?
You can have players, but I'm looking for starters. And I want to know if the starters on your team look like me.
I saw when I was researching your company that you provide employment opportunities for your members. Talk to us about how you do that. And I would imagine that, or let me ask the question: do you vet, like in the way that you're talking about here for an individual? Do you vet your corporate partners in the same way as you're talking about here?
I sure do. I sure do. Every potential sponsor must get on a call with me, and I ask those hard questions. I ask questions like, do you have a woman in sales ERG, an employee resource group? And they may say, yes, with pride, we have a women's ERG. That's not what I asked. Do you have a woman in sales ERG?
Ooh, that's more
Because
specific.
it
Yes.
is. Because the reality is that women in sales face challenges that women in engineering don't.
Mm.
Because a woman in sales may have to go into an office where Miss July is on the wall. How do you equip her to deal with that environment? Yeah.
Wow. Do you find, I mean, I'm really curious about this. Do you find that a lot of companies, I mean, some of them are just embarking on ERGs, which is mind-boggling to me, right? That in
Yep.
2023, you don't have one ERG. So, wow. But do you find that a lot of companies are that specific? They have a sales ERG, or a lot of companies coming or showing up in that?
They're starting to. But remember, let's go back to the system. If you have a sales force, and we'll talk about sales because that's my niche. If you have a sales department that is one race, one gender, why do you need an ERG? You don't.
Mhm.
But if you want to provide the professional development, training, support, and mentoring to those who can benefit from it, then and only then you will start to do that. And a lot of companies will say, well, we offer the same thing for everybody. Everyone has equal opportunity. This isn't about equality, it's about equity. And there's a stark difference. Let me give you an example. If I invite you and Tangiel over for dinner, I'm going to make pot roast, mashed potatoes, and steamed asparagus.
Yummy.
Delicious, right? And then you say, that's great.
Yes.
But, Lachez, you say, I'm vegan. Equality says that I'm going to come back and say, well, I offered you my world famous pot roast, my garlic smashed potatoes, and my steamed asparagus. If you don't need it, it's on you. Equity says that I'm going to prepare or at least offer you a vegan meal. Why? Because that's what you need to thrive. It's not
Hmm.
just about survival. You can eat what I prepared and survive.
Hmm.
Equality is about survival. Equity is about thriving. And
That's right.
that is what people miss. When you have a subset group on your team, it is your duty to make sure you give them what they need to thrive.
Hmm.
That is your
That's it.
obligation.
I love that.
This
So I
is
guess
great.
within the DEI, I guess your focus really is that equity.
It is. It is. So whether
Perfect.
it's training for subset groups, professional development, mentoring opportunities, whatever it is they need to thrive, that's what you owe them. They're giving you their life. And to say, you know what, I'm paying you a paycheck and giving you benefits, your job is more than just providing them with the tangibles. You are there to help them develop, to grow. Because rest assured that if you don't, someone else will.
Hmm.
That's right. That's right. Well, talk to us more about. I'm very curious about NAWSP. What's kind of the criteria? I mean, do you focus on a target group? Is it kind of early sales professionals? What's the criteria to become a member of the organization? Yeah, let's start there. Talk to us about
Okay.
the organization.
So we accept women who sell B2B services, and that normally means in a male dominated industry. So um, we don't have criteria for entry level to VP. We accept all of them, and we are across the board. 33% are SDRs, BDRs, entry level, 34% are mid level, and then 33% are manager and above. We want to make sure that our members are quota carrying sales professionals.
Perfect. Okay. Um, Perfect. Just taking notes here.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Fantastic. How many members? What have you grown the organization to, if you don't mind sharing?
At last count, it was about 15,000.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
I'd love to
you.
hear some of the success stories. I mean, you're providing so many services to women sales professionals. And so I'm sure you have some great stories. If you can share maybe one or two, some of the professionals that came to you with significant obstacles and challenges, went through some of your programs and then they have a fantastic start or they're on their way. I'm sure you have some tons of
Yes.
stories to share here.
So, as a founder and as a woman in sales, I can say things that a lot of people aren't comfortable saying.
Sure.
However, one young lady decided that she was going to use one of my sound bites in a salary negotiation.
Mm.
I was scared for her and also thrilled. She, during the salary negotiation, they asked her, well, what do you want? And she came prepared because I coach our members. You should have an IBM, an individual business meeting with your manager on a regular basis. And it should be structured. You go in with an agenda and it should have, this is what I'm working on. Here are my 5 top prospects. Here's where I am in the sales cycle with them. And here's where I need your help. This is, and if you do that, then you have a brag book, as they used to call it, of all of your accomplishments. So she was armed with her brag book of all of the things that she had done throughout the year. And when they asked her, what do you think that you are entitled to? And she said, not really entitled to anything other than something commiserate with my accomplishments. And by the way, and this is where I just beamed, she said, why don't you pay me what you pay the white men on the team?
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Takes
And that's,
courage.
you could have heard, she said that you could have heard a pin drop.
Sure.
And they said, well, how do you know that we don't? And she said, let me just say that I know. She did her homework. That's what I'm talking about with equity. We've got to stand up and speak up. We've
Yes.
got to do our homework. There's this unwritten rule that we don't talk about salary. Well, why not? Who developed that rule? Is it part of that system? And I would
Right.
beg to say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Change the lens, I believe is your quote.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
It's great.
What are you most proud of, like in all of the work that you're doing now? What are you most proud of? I always ask this question.
I
She
have an
loves it.
11-year-old niece, and my mother, one day she was walking on my back. My niece was, because she thought that she could do what my chiropractor does, and she was walking on my back. and she was doing such a good job, and I said, you could be a chiropractor. And my mother said, well, I thought you wanted to be a veterinarian. And my niece looked at her and said, my auntie said that I can do whatever I want to do and be whoever I want to be as long as I'm willing to sacrifice and work hard. And I thought, yes, yes,
That's
yes,
right.
yes,
Awesome.
yes.
I
No,
love that. I love that. And you see the generation continuing, right? All the
yes,
way from your parents to you to her now, right?
yes,
I see the
Yes.
yes.
generational success.
Right. And
Yes.
that's all my mom could do was just say, oh my gosh, it's a little Cynthia. And when I'm hosting a Zoom call or a webinar and my niece pops in the chat and says, hi, auntie, and she spells it Onty, because when she was little, that's all she knew how to spell it was Onty. That does my heart good because she's seeing me succeed and she knows that she can do it all. She can do it all. And I'm so proud of the legacy that I'm leaving her.
That's awesome.
Wow. 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 We have to deal with the actual title of this episode,
Yes.
developing your bounce back. So
Yes.
this is the ceremonious lead up to our episode title. Talk to us about developing your bounce back.
So bounce back ability is a phrase that I heard, and I thought that's exactly what life is about. It's resilience, and it's more than resilience. It's more than a mindset. It's the actions behind turning your pain into purpose. So someone could look at my life and say, "Oh my gosh, she was bullied when she was a kid for 12 years and she went into sales and they said, you are our diversity hire because you check 2 boxes." I have choices.
Mm-hmm.
I can either look at those things and I can use them to bring me down,
Mm-hmm.
or I can take that pain, the tears and the frustration, and I can use that and look at it and say, how do I reframe this? Not only to help myself, but
Mm-hmm.
to help others. When we help others, it gives us an oxytocin hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our lives are not about our success,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Right.
There's a saying in the Bible that says, "To whom much is given, much is required," and I
Mhm.
believe that.
Mm.
If we go through a painful adversity, if you will, and we don't use it to help someone else or to better someone else's life, then it was for nothing. We suffered
Mm-hmm.
for nothing.
Yeah.
So when
Mm.
I talk about bounce back ability, it's viewing those adverse situations as a way to say, okay, I'm going through the struggle. What's the point?
Mm.
What's the
Okay.
point? What can I get out of this? And I'm not talking about Pollyanna, silver linings and all that. I'm real talk. What is my role in this?
Mm. Okay.
What's my role? If my bills are past due, hey, what's my role? Maybe I shouldn't have bought that purse. That's my role, right? Maybe I should put more money in savings. Maybe I should level up my confidence and ask for more money next time negotiations come around. So taking a look at who we are and how we act, that's crucial. You have to get
Mm-hmm.
honest with yourself. Then
Yes.
you have to say, okay, what are you going to do? There are
Mm.
times when I go to my parents and I say, you know what, things are really hard and blah 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 blah, and they listen. And then they always say, and I know it's coming, but it still frosts me. And my mom said, okay, so what are you going to do? Okay, what am I going
Yeah.
to do?
Great.
So
Sounds
I
like my
Yes.
mom.
so then I ask myself, how can I dot dot dot? And I fill
Mm.
out a piece of paper. I put at the top, how can I, and let's say, how can I earn more money at work? Then
Mm.
your mind starts to go into solution mode. Well, how can I earn more money at work? And then you
Mm.
make a list of 25 things. The first 10, easy. The next 10, kind of challenging. The magic is in 20 through 25. Those are the things that will get you to action and change your life.
Yeah.
Mm. You know what? I love this. And a bounce back
Exciting.
can be a bounce back from a lot of things. Maybe it's a bounce back from a layoff. It's a
Mhm.
bounce back from, setbacks in your career. I mean, we have, like you said, challenges. A bounce back could be a lot of things, defined as a lot of things that you face. What I like about what you said is understanding your role, right? I
Mhm.
love that. Understanding that things don't just happen to you. They do, right? Things happen to you, but also there's things that you have done, or maybe you could have done better, or maybe you can understand better. So understanding you in all of that, and then it's fantastic. What do you do about it? What do you do? You
Yes.
can't stay in the state of, oh my God.
Right.
Like, oh no. Like, so what do you do about it? I love back to your parents,
Mhm.
instilled in you early on and continues. What do you do about it?
Mhm.
Right? I love, love, love that. Because I think that candidly, that's the challenge for some folks, right? Like you understand something is happening to you, but you don't really understand your role in it, first of all, because not
Mhm.
everyone is self reflective. So we have to be
Right.
honest about that. There's so many people that are challenged with this concept.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Reflect back. What is your role in things? It's very
Yes,
hard for some people to do. You have to do it.
you do.
And also, what do you do about it, right?
Mhm.
This thing is
Yeah.
happening to you. You're real about that, but what are the steps you're going to take to get out of it? What is it that you need to do? So I thought that was fantastic. With developing that bounce back, those are the keys. Those are the fundamentals for sure, for
Mhm.
sure.
And we may not know what to do. Sometimes when we are in the storm, we're just trying to breathe,
Yeah.
Right,
right?
right, right.
Sometimes when we are just, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going crazy. Just be still.
That's
Be
right.
Yes.
still and breathe, and either journal to get the thoughts out of your head,
Right.
or you take in knowledge by reading. Your
Yeah.
mind is
Hmm.
powerful. Your
Yes.
mind is powerful. But like they say in sales, you've got to do a pattern interrupt. So I don't care whether or not you silence that inner critic or that inner thought by saying cancel, cancel, cancel. Take a deep breath, maybe 4, and say, okay, here's the situation. Here's my plan of action. James Clear says we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And
Mm.
when you are in a crisis, when you are in what my mother used to call being like a fart in a whirlwind, when you are in it, things go around you and they just swirl in your head. If
Yes.
you have a system of stopping and interrupting that thought pattern, then journaling, putting your thoughts down on paper, breathing, that is your system to help you get grounded so that you can think clearly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But
Yes.
take that time. I love that. Really kind of stop and really think about things. Even
Mhm.
back to like this higher purpose and maybe a more spiritual way of looking at things. Why is it happening to you also, right? Don't spend too much time on it, but is there something else that you're supposed to learn in this moment?
Mhm.
That's something that I've kind of learned to do later in life here as well. When things happen, why are they happening? And is there something that I'm
Mhm.
supposed to learn from this experience?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that? What is that thing? And you have to
Yes.
take the time to try to understand the higher purpose of what's happening to you,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes.
And we may not always know. It may not reveal itself until years later. When I was a kid getting bullied, I never thought that years later I would be sitting here talking to you about how I overcame it,
That's
Yes.
right.
right? In those years, it was traumatic.
Yes.
It was traumatic. But again, I use the pain for purpose. And
We
that's the
share so
difference.
much in common. Oh my God.
Yes, yes.
I
Yes.
was
Yes.
I was bullied too. I was, and I never thought I would see myself in the way I am today. But I mean, some very similar stories, particularly the Parents Foundation.
Mhm.
My mother is very similar to your mom. My dad sounds like he's got the same philosophies as your dad. So that's really exciting to know that, well, one, I'm not the only one,
Right, right.
right? And look at you, and look at what all you have accomplished. And I know that there's more. We talked more about this prior to joining today, and I'm just super excited to see what else you've got going on.
Oh my gosh, so many things, so many things. We're gonna have
Yes,
to do this
yes,
again. Yes.
yes. One more question before we kind of wrap up with the questions. I think I would
Sure.
be remiss to not ask you about this. You've been in sales for quite some time,
Mhm.
right? I had some early experience with sales, Tangiel as well. We are saleswomen as well, right?
Yes.
What in your opinion? I mean, what's the outlook? I mean, how is sales as an industry, in your opinion? How are women faring in the industry? Like, where are we? And what do you think about the industry as it relates to women and our progress? From your lens. It's a big question.
I
Big question.
Yes, yes. I love the fact that there are women who are standing up and speaking up for what's right. We are letting our voices be heard. We're challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that is exciting. That is exciting for me to see. And we're asking questions like when someone gives us a microaggression. And my favorite one was when a young lady they said, "So why are you so loud at work?" And she said, "Why does it bother you so much?"
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah. We don't always have to accept the disrespect. We don't
Sure.
always have to accept the bias. We can turn it around and say, "Why does it bother you so much? Why do you wear your hair like that? Why is my hair a topic of conversation?"
Yeah. I
And I'm
love
not
it.
saying be a smart aleck about it, but
Right.
I'm asking, I'm saying, we don't have to just take it.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Because for so long, people have been used to delivering these microaggressions,
Sure.
delivering this bias. And we, because we're supposed to be good, we just take it. I'm
Sure.
asking people to stand up for themselves. I'm not saying be disrespectful, but I'm saying challenge those people who want to disrespect you. It's not right. And if you don't say anything, then you go home after getting, microaggressed all day, and you eat your feelings or drink your feelings. And then you go back the next day and do it all over again. So
Sure.
why don't we just nip it in the bud?
Yes,
I
yes.
love it.
Recognize what the microaggression is, first of all.
Yes. Mhm.
Understand what that is. It's happening. If it's happening often, really understand that. And if you have to tackle that every day and make some other decisions for yourself about back to that navigation piece, is this the right
Yeah.
environment?
Yes, yes, yes,
So,
yes.
Cynthia, share with our listeners the best way to get in contact with you. Fantastic work that you're doing. They should absolutely get in contact with you. Share with our listeners.
Yes, please. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I am a LinkedIn top voice, so Cynthia Barnes, I should be the first one that pops up. Connect with me. Make sure you send me in your connection request how we know each other or how you heard of me. Don't, please, 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 don't ever, for me, for anybody, just send, like, hit connect. Personalize the connection. So please do connect with me on LinkedIn. I love making new connections.
Awesome.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Cynthia, for sharing all of your experiences with us. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing with your organization. Best of
Yes.
luck to you. Phenomenal work that you're doing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun, and I can't wait to continue the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you again. I'm super, super excited that we are just beginning our journey together.
Yes,
I know there's
yes.
going to be
Amen
some
to that.
great things. Yeah, there are going to be some great things coming out of our relationship for sure.
Hmm.
So, for our audience, please remember to stay tuned for more episodes of your corporate IQ. And we're interested in hearing from you as well. So send us your topics of your suggestions for topics and comments. You can reach us at info at yourcorporateiq.com. And likewise, give us a like on one of our social media platforms, which would be LinkedIn or Instagram. We want to build a community with you as well. So until next time, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
High, low, close or open toe. You be looking good when you rock 'em, so put your heels on, girl. Them heels on, lady. Hit your ground hard, you drive me crazy. Palms get sweaty, I'm imagining things. When I see what reality brings, I get choked from your vision of comparable. So dumb, man, I could write a parable. Killing when I go back to my rat hole living. Michelangelo, you on the ceiling.